You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk 1150 AM. Now, back to the show with local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell.
You are listening to The Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 3rd, Labor Day weekend show. You can also listen to my show podcast, my Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on my community outreach events platform, go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. Now back in studio, Samantha Kennedy of Mainsail Financial Group. Financial independence. What does FIRE mean, and how can we find independence through multiple avenues? Right here on 1150 AM KKNW. So Samantha, before I get into the questions that I have for you, I want to give a little background about you. So Samantha, life is full of miracles. At the age of 3, she was adopted from China to a loving family after being malnutritioned with little stability. When Samantha looks back, she realized her journey has taken her from not knowing where her next meal was coming from to supporting others to plan for their future through the role of a financial advisor. The desire to help individuals and families prepare for financial stable future while developing lifelong friendships is what provides purpose for Samantha. She finds joy in celebrating her clients' wins, as well as being a resource while they are conquering fears on the way to realizing their own goals. With over 7 years in the financial services industry, Samantha has discovered no two people have the same dreams, and there is always more to learn. Beautiful words in your introduction, Samantha. Thank you for providing that for me. And I'm really excited to showcase you and showcase what you do for my listeners. So thank you again, Samantha, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Tina.
Yeah. If I didn't know you and I was reading that bio for the first time, it would have brought me to tears, but I know you very well. And again, it's just a pleasure to have you and to have you as a friend and on my show as an expert in the financial arena, because you are definitely one of the best. So Samantha, let's go ahead and start out with, if you can share with my listeners your why you do what you do.
Absolutely. So what keeps me motivated every single day is not just picturing retirement 30, 40 years in the future. It's picturing what type of life do people want to build today, and how can we build a roadmap to get there? And the why behind that is finding what's important to whoever I'm talking to. It's interesting because financial planning, or really financial independence, it means something different to everybody. Sometimes it means I don't want to have to work. Sometimes it means I want to have the choice to work. And then for other people, it's I really love my job, but I'd love to be able to do this for free, or to be able to give back to my community. So it's interesting because through the years, the why, or what drives me every day, has evolved to how can I help the family or the individual I'm working with discover their drive and ultimately build a path that's maybe just a little bit more efficient to get there.
Yeah, when you have a why and you are living your why every time you get up, then that's where it continues to evolve, like you were talking about, Samantha, because you're living in it. Just like anything else in life, when we're living it, it evolves and we keep getting more embraced in that. So thank you for sharing that. So how does your why relate to the FIRE, and what is the FIRE movement?
Yes, finally getting to
This is exciting.
It is. So there was a little bit of a clue in the I guess maybe cliffhanger there.
Uh-huh.
Is the FI in FIRE is actually financial independence. So, what I would encourage all of us listening today is, what does financial independence mean to you? Does it mean not having to work, not having to set an alarm? Does it mean perhaps supporting not only your family, but your community? Does it mean being able to support a cause that you are incredibly driven by? You're the boss of your own life and you get to make the rules. So, financial independence is not a definition provided by a textbook or even a financial advisor if you work with one. It's really taking the time to think about, well, what's important to you and what does independence mean in your life? And then RE is retire early. And so the retire early is also a bit subjective, not by the textbook. Currently, retirement age is age 65. And the reason that is the age is because Medicare or health insurance,
Mm.
when you are no longer working, is available then. So, from a cost perspective, a lot of people work until 65. But retirement is building the life you want and ideally when you want it to happen. So, FIRE is financial independence and retire early.
I love that, Samantha. So, how has financial planning changed in the last 3 years?
Ooh, I would argue every industry has changed day and night over
Yeah,
the
that's
past
so
3 years.
true.
So, very easy question for me to answer
Mhm.
today. How it has changed most is building connections with people, I have noticed is much easier. Prior to COVID, getting really even getting under the skin or figuring out what someone gets passionate about
Mhm.
almost took 5, 10 conversations, multiple hours until they're comfortable. But over the past 2 years, and what has made my job so much more exciting is everyone I talk to is willing to share something that they are going through that, quite frankly, is a challenge. And the reason that ties to financial planning is if you don't know why you're doing something, quite frankly, it doesn't matter how good the plan is. You're not going to be motivated, or it's not going to keep up the momentum that it did from day one. But if you take the time to figure out, well, what bothers you, or maybe even more inspiring, what makes you excited, or what do you wake up every day and you're thrilled to have potentially be an outcome, that is the motivation that we're looking for. And over the past 3 years, it has become so much easier to be blunt and ask what's important to you and not have the answer be surface level, such as not worrying about my mortgage payment next month.
Yeah,
Although, Tina, I will say, not having a mortgage payment or having a mortgage payment that fits into your budget is
yeah,
incredibly relieving.
absolutely. So, what do you think? Why for that shift, Samantha?
I think it's because everyone has been challenged over the past 3 years for industries where you used to meet in person across the table, have a handshake, give someone a hug. That did not exist for 2 years, or there was a lot of hesitancy. And so, listening, actively listening, not thinking about what are you going to say next, has become more and more important. And also, because location, I would argue, does not matter as much compared to 3 years ago, we're able to build relationships and learn from other people's experiences in a way that I would say it wasn't impossible 3 years ago, but it certainly wasn't the norm.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So, what are you doing to protect your clients given the current market volatility?
Probably the understatement of the year, current market volatility and inflation. And then in your world, Tina,
Mhm.
certainly interest rates as well. Right now, it's really making sure that we have that nest egg. And that's where financial planning comes into play, is if you do not need to liquidate any of your assets, market volatility does not matter because it's not impacting your life today, tomorrow, or ideally over the next few months. Now, that's laying a foundation that, quite frankly, probably needed to happen well before January of this year. What we are doing now for our clients is researching certain sectors that are not used very often. So, for instance, Mainsail does a lot of their own investment research, and we have spent a lot of time looking at commodities. And so, if you think of
Mhm.
commodities, quite literally tangible goods, maybe wheat, food, fruit you see in the grocery store, during market volatile times, interest rate increases, and then inflation, commodities tend to do a little bit better. because if you have the choice to purchase a gallon of milk versus a new iPad, the decision's pretty darn clear. So that's one example. And then one more quick example, going back to the sectors, is if we look at two broad categories of investments in terms of stocks, we have growth and value. Growth, think of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, companies that are innovative, and normally they don't pay a very high dividend because they're reinvesting that money into the company to grow or have the share price itself increase. Those companies had a huge run up in 2020 and 2021, and not a huge shock because the entire world went to remote. And
Uh-huh.
so the tech sector did very, very well. But we're noticing a shift from growth to value. So when you think of value, think of Home Depot, or if you're in the Pacific Northwest, Kroger, Fred Meyer, QFC. And it comes back to the fundamentals of when people have a tighter budget or might need to watch their dollars a little bit more closely, the essentials of everyday life tends to be a little bit more stable moving forward. So a little bit of a long-winded answer there. The current market volatility, the first point is making sure you don't need money to sustain your quality of life. That should not be invested. And so not needing to liquidate something at an inopportune time. And the second piece is making sure that your investments are in the correct buckets given the current market conditions.
And that's why I have you here today, Samantha, because it's critically important that you work with an expert in this space in order to navigate. I introduce every single one of my clients to Samantha. Every client in my initial consultation gets an introduction to Samantha. She offers all of my clients and any clients a 90-minute consultation. And I feel blessed to have you part of my power team, Samantha. And yeah, it's just like, a home ownership. I mean, if you could predict what any market's going to do, then we all would do that, but you can't. And, when is the best time to do something is when you want to get into home ownership, buy a home, and you just don't want to overextend. Just like Samantha says with financing, you need to have money to live. You don't want to buy something that you're going to overextend on your mortgage. Don't worry about what the market's going to do. You don't lose money in real estate unless you're forced to sell in a bad market and you're not reinvesting. And don't worry about rate because you can date your rate. You date your rate and you marry your home. You can always turn around and refinance, but you're locking in whatever that potential appreciation would be. So Samantha, what is the biggest mistake someone can make during uncertain times?
Making a decision or being reactionary out of fear. Markets are volatile. Your game plan for life will have bumps in the road. But as long as you have a long term strategy and you know what behavior or what activity needs to happen, and you can, to some extent, stay the course during uneasy time, that will increase your odds of success tremendously. So, the biggest mistake I've seen, and unfortunately, really over the past 2 years, are people acting out of fear and not reassessing where they are in terms of their goals.
Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is terrified of their personal finances?
Yes. The first recommendation I would give is asking yourself the question, why are you scared? Are you afraid someone's going to tell you what to do? Are you afraid that your life will no longer have any fun? Are you afraid that you'll discover a problem that you have no idea how to solve? As soon as you know why you're terrified of something, the beast becomes a little bit smaller because A, you're giving it some attention and awareness, but B, it doesn't have the weight it does when you just ignore something. So, my encouragement to someone who thinks they're just terrified of finances, they don't know anything, is ask yourself, why are you scared? And then I would encourage you to, whether it's a family member or a trusted advisor, to talk with someone and ask them, what do you think about this situation? So that you're not only in your own head in that fear.
Yeah, great advice. What are a few financial habits that you can adopt to get started, Samantha?
I think the first habit I would almost encourage anyone to do is think of something you enjoy and that you would do if money just didn't matter, and then have that be a part of your budget. I think budgeting can sometimes be constraining in activities. But for instance, I love to run every day. So part of my budget is money towards running shoes or money towards a race. And when those events happen, it's not an additional expense, it's something a part of life.
Samantha, thank you so much. And I got to wrap up, but just really quickly in like three words, if you can. How can you sprinkle a little bit of fun in your financial plan?
Ooh,
Few minute or a few
yes.
word answer.
Oh, a little bit of fun. Find what you're passionate about.
Oh, I love that. You rocked it. All right, Samantha, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. Reach out to the show. I can get you connected with Samantha. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.